Today we're going to be covering a very interesting lesson known as Zentangled. Now, Zentangle is basically a Zen-like state for your artwork. It's a nice way for you to relax, to calm down, to get your ideas out on paper, and it's also a wonderful way for you to really express some creativity, even whenever you are at a dried up point where you're like, I just don't have any creativity left in me at all. I'm just hit an artistic blank wall. This is a great way to get yourself out of that state. So what is Zentangled? Well, Zentangled is, like I said, basically a way for you to relax. It lets your mind exercise while it also lets you not think about anything at all. In fact, it's been known as the yoga for the brain. So it's a nice way for you to just meditate, chill, and let some steam off. Now, Zentangled was officially created back in 2003 to 2004. The time frame, I found mixed information about this. However, it was discovered by Maria Thomas, who is a professional calligrapher, and Rick Roberts, who is a meditationalist or someone who just practices meditation. Now, the art form was founded whenever somebody was watching Maria complete her artwork, which was basically scribing and making fancy letters. And they said, wow, I don't think I could ever do anything like that. And Maria's like, no, it's fine. You just kind of let your mind go and it creates it on its own. And Rick overheard her say this and say, could you explain to me exactly how this happens for you? How do you create your work? And she just kind of said, I go into this Zen-like state where I just let whatever I'm thinking out on the paper and it just creates it and it's really relaxing. And then Rick looked at her and said, you just described meditation. So obviously this was not the first time that this has been seen. Maria has just been using this method in creating her artwork or her calligraphy. However, they coined the term Zentangled, and since then they have created a workshop for it. They have a website dedicated to it, and it's kind of like Sir Isaac Newton. Sir Isaac Newton is credited for discovering color theory and for also coming up with the color wheel. But obviously we know that the Renaissance time period also used the color wheel and had color theory to create the artworks that they had several hundred years before Isaac Newton. However, Isaac Newton was the one that finally put it down on paper and wrote it out in a way that everybody could understand. And Miss Thomas is exactly the same way, where she might have not discovered this per se, but they were the ones credited for creating it and bringing it to public knowledge. So what can Zentangled be? Zentangled can literally be anything, and there's no real right or wrong way to do Zentangled. The main purpose of Zentangled is just to relax your brain and get everything on paper. You just want to fill in the paper as much as possible. Any empty space outside that needs to be filled in should be filled in. And it doesn't just have to be lines or shapes. It could literally be anything. For instance, in this artwork, it's made up of a bunch of bugs, butterflies, flowers, and plants and plant life. There's all kinds of different things inside of this artwork that makes up the dragon that you see. It's not just one in particular thing, not just a bunch of lines and not just a bunch of circles. It's a bunch of everything in it. And that could be Zentangled. Zentangled could also just be shapes. The main point of it, fill in every single inch that you possibly can. Make sure that there's no space left. And that's when you know that you're done, when there is nothing left to fill in. That is Zentangled. Well, you're going to be creating your very own Zentangled artwork. And if you're in the classroom, I'm going to be having some sample ones for you to practice on first before you can, try your full artwork out. But yes, your assignment is going to be to create your very own unique Zentangle artwork. And in fact, I'm going to be showing you a demonstration right here. If you'd like to go back and read the instructions, you can, but I'm going to read them to you as this video is playing. Basically, if you see an empty space, fill it in. Fill it in with a pattern, with a shape, whatever you want. You are allowed to shade. You are allowed to color. You are allowed to use markers and ink pens, but you are not allowed to use the color as a way to fill in the space. Now, it's one thing if you're just doing little details, like you add in black for the background around other shapes, that's one thing. But if you're just wanting to fill in a whole area with a black marker, that doesn't count. You need to actually fill it in with something to look at.